Dear Londoners, what is going on in your city? Rampant crime, antisocial behaviour, seriously, what's happening? And a lot of this stuff is happening in broad daylight, in front of witnesses, in plain sight, from phone theft to random attacks, intimidation, harassment to so-called pranks. These streets are no longer safe. It's starting to feel like a free-for-all out there. Brazen crime, no masks, no shame, no fear. In the middle of the day, it's happening in the parks, on the buses, outside supermarkets, in supermarkets, like it's normal, like we're living in some kind of a real life purge. Oh, but poverty, oh, but lack of opportunities. Look, it's about decay, straight up decay, moral, social, cultural, spiritual decay. The collapse of public order, live and in HD. This video isn't about isolated events, it's about a pattern. It's about how modern cities are starting to resemble failed states. We are living through a slow collapse of order. Then you sometimes have politicians say things like, oh, well, it's going to be under control. Actually, crime is down in some aspects. You know, it's like we're blowing things out of proportion, but you can feel it. There's a sense that public life is fraying, that the unwritten rules we used to rely on, respect for shared space, for elders, for basic decency, all gone out the window. Why does a teenager feel confident walking into a store, filling a bag and strolling out like it's his right? How can people just record themselves or others, you know, assaulting or beating up their fellow human being and then posting it online like it's content as opposed to being, you know, evidence? Take a look at this video. Oh, but why do they always follow us in the shops? So racist. Why do they see a black man in a hoodie and then tense up? Racist. All I'm saying is, stereotypes don't come out of nowhere, because you can cry victim and say that people hate your group, but maybe you need to start either stopping or starting to call out strongly what may be causing people in society to hate your so-called group, because this is absolutely disgusting. You know, there's a phrase that's recently making rounds on TikTok called black fatigue. I'm not on TikTok, so I'm not sure if it's a long time or recently, but it just came on my radar now, and it's where people, including black people, are calling out black behaviour within the so-called black community, or expressing public embarrassment from viral videos or news that reflect badly on said community.
Black fatigue is a thing. Newsflash. White people don't want to live around ratchet black people. And black people don't want to live around ratchet black people.
But this is a whole nother topic for another time, so let me know if you want me to dissect this in the comments. But yeah, we now basically live in societies where there's no accountability or shame. You know, there was a time where doing wrong in front of others, you know, or the idea of doing wrong in front of others was a big deal. And I think that spiritual and religious decline play a big role in all this. We can't deny it. Before, people were conscious that the eyes of God was following them and watching them wherever they went. But for decades, people have been told there's no higher truth, no shared codes. Well, this is what we get. This is what all that produces. A society without reverence, without restraint. People only serve themselves. They are their own gods. So whatever they want to take or do, they take and do. In 2024, over 80,000 mobile phones were stolen. I think around 70% in London alone. Most of them were snatched in broad daylight. Some victims were attacked, harassed. Many never got a police follow-up. Their cases closed in days. And speaking about police, where is the law?
So they have all taken a knee. They've all taken a knee.
In parts of London, police officers have even advised shopkeepers leave the thieves alone. Don't confront them. Imagine that. The state is now telling you to just accept crime and just hope, insurance will cover it, for example. And speaking about police again, they have their priorities completely mixed up. They've recently started complaining about underfunding and now asking for more money. But what are they doing with their current resources? I am far from the defund the police type person, but the police need to start sorting themselves out. As mentioned, almost 80,000 phones snatched last year. People feel unsafe. Violence and crime is going up. Petty crime is going up. Scary random encounters. But police use some of these tight resources to do what? Police tweets and spend days, hours on diversity staff training. So if this is the trajectory, then it's better not to waste more money on this. It's making things worse. These things are an insult to people and their victims who need what? Real policing. And also mentioning this thing of, oh, it's just insurance, oh, it's just insurance will cover these things. Complete side note, because I thought about this, especially due to the recent rioting in LA due to immigration clashes and so on. And a lot of people have been saying things, oh, it's just property, it's just stores. Human lives are more important. Let their insurance cover it. And I remember a lot of this was said around the BLM chaos a couple of years ago as well. Oh, you can buy more stuff, but a life is priceless. Of course, a life is priceless, but things hold great value to many as well. What you are destroying, what you are taking isn't just things. These are the blood, sweat and tears of people. I feel like it's such a lazy and soulless take to act like people's belongings, their businesses, their homes, their livelihoods are just meaningless stuff. It's completely detached from reality, and people say these things because they have no understanding of what it takes to build something in this world. And half the time, these people being robbed or ruined, they don't even have proper insurance, or if they do, it barely covers a fraction of what was lost. Not just the money, but the time, the effort, the emotional toll. They say these things so casually because it's not their stuff that's being destroyed, because I think they'll be singing a different tune if it was. Back to London, looking like a war zone in many places. So we talked about spiritual decline, soft policing. Why else are our streets in such disarray? Well, I think we have to talk about social apathy as well. Most people don't step in anymore. They're afraid, and with good reason. You step in and you can be stabbed, you can be arrested, you can be filmed, streamed online, shamed online. People are afraid. What we're seeing in the streets, the brazen crime, the public disrespect, the everyday violence is only the surface layer. The real damage happened much earlier, in schools, in culture, in homes, in the hearts and minds of people. It happened in classrooms when discipline disappeared and teachers were left powerless, when schools became babysitting centers instead of places that built character. Well, one of the places that build character, because the first place to build character should be the home. But of course, kids stopped hearing the word no at home. Parents got too busy, too worn down, or just too checked out to guide their own children. It happened in culture when we started mocking responsibility and treating vulgarity like bravery and celebrating the loudest voices in the room instead of the wisest. And it happened inside of people when things like shame, conscience, a sense of duty, respect for yourself, for others, for strangers, when those things eroded away slowly. And without them, laws don't mean much. Policing doesn't mean much. You can't fix the surface when the foundation has gone. So now we're here, where people film beatings instead of stopping them, when shopkeepers watch people just walk out with stolen goods because, they're too afraid for their own safety, and that's fair enough, and where kids grow up thinking that strength means being feared and kindness, common decency, common humanity, is just weakness. Now, does multiculturalism play a role in all this? Here she goes again with multiculturalism. But yes, It does. I'm sorry, it does. You cannot ignore it. The truth is, multiculturalism, by its very nature, creates a kind of social disorder because you're no longer dealing with one society that shares a common framework. You're dealing with many micro societies. Being physically close doesn't mean people are mentally, morally, or culturally aligned. Far from it. You need shared norms because without shared norms, there's no real cohesion, and without cohesion, there is no order. Look at our most diverse cities. Many of them are some of the most chaotic, our most volatile, our least safe. That's not a coincidence. Doesn't mean that everyone from a different background is a problem, of course not. But it does mean that when you have no shared sense of how do we live here together, right? Public order breaks down. Also, with multiculturalism, there's no sense of kinship. This unspoken feeling that, these, are also my people, my community. These strangers around me are not just bodies I pass in the street. They're people I owe something to. Basic level of respect, decency, restraint. You don't have that. You don't get that naturally with multiculturalism. There's no shared identity holding people together, especially our kind of multiculturalism that wants to actually tear down the identity that we should be building together. Look at something like the Grooming gang scandal. That's exactly what happened. You have some of these men openly saying that they targeted white girls because they were white. They didn't target, people from their own, who they saw as being part of their own community. There was no sense of humanity. There was such a distance, a detachment, an otherness. That is multiculturalism. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm seeing it all too bleakly. Or maybe this is exactly where things are headed. But we're supposed to pretend that things are fine and things are normal. So let me know what you think in the comments, because honestly, I am trying to make sense of it all.